Berlin, Mikaela from Copenhagen. Oh, we have people from so many countries. It's beautiful. Yeah. Oh, we have hello Keiko from Sophie, Tommy, Minnesota in the house. Welcome, Monica. Donna from Milan. We have people from Cape Town. Welcome, Andy. And from Romania. Ah, wonderful. And hellos from Mexico, from Silvia, and Joe from Denmark. So as we can see, there are people tuning in right now from everything from Asia to Africa to Europe to both North and South America. And I heard that you, Keiko, have also just the recent few days been in both Japan and now Los Angeles.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Hannah. Good to see you.
Yes, we are super happy to have you here, Keiko. And before I start talking about the logistics, I would love to hear in your words what we are going to talk about and explore today in this art webinar.
Okay, welcome, everybody. I'm so happy that you're there in this happy time of the year. I hope you're enjoying this joyous holiday season. But also, I know you're all busy, so I truly appreciate your time being here with us today. So this webinar is to introduce to you my upcoming mentorship program. And we will talk, Hannah and I will talk about the details of the mentorship program. It's a 4-month program, and then you will hear everything about it. And if you have any questions about any part of the program, feel free to ask me or Hannah. We are here to answer your question. So today, we're here to learn about the program, but also I want to introduce myself as your mentor, as your possible mentor. So I would welcome your questions about that as well, what kind of things I'm going to do as a mentor. But this is a mentorship program for painters, watercolor painters. So we'll be painting a lot each time. And we'll talk more about it later. So, but you get the point.
And today we're gonna get to know Keiko, and we will possibly see her paint a little bit, but this is not a regular demonstration. We will learn a lot because Keiko will share examples. We will start to begin to see and notice how Keiko sees different things. So that can help us in our watercolor painting experience. So let's dive in. First and foremost, warmest welcome everyone who is tuning in. And if you're live, welcome to the live experience. And if you're watching the replay, welcome to this replay experience. This is an online art webinar, meaning that we will not be painting today. However, Keiko might show us some exercises. We will see exactly how much of that we have time for. And we will focus on secrets of capturing atmosphere in watercolor and the spaces in between objects. That's one of the themes for today. And Keiko Tanabe, we're super happy to have her here with us. And for those of you who are new to this concept, this will last for about 1.5 to 2 hours, and we never know exactly how long in advance. We will take it as it goes. And use the chat, ask your questions, share your insights, help each other out. It's a beautiful space that we have here. So if you're here live, use that to your advantage. And before we dive in, many of you have already shared where you're from. You're also more than welcome to share how long you've been with Artefacto, and if this is your first time, you can write new, and otherwise you can write how long you've been with us. I will take a look in the chat in a few moments. So today, we will begin learning what truly creates atmosphere, how light, value structure, edges, color temperature, and simplification in watercolor specifically work to create that sense of atmosphere. We will get a visual analysis using Keiko's artworks and see and begin to train our eyes to notice and recognize how she builds depth, how she leads the eye and captures mood. And we will also analyze common mistakes that artists might make when trying to create atmospheric scenes and begin to learn how to avoid them, get an introduction to her brand new mentorship program, as Keiko has already mentioned, and the chance to join that experience. And at the very end, we have a Q&A session for those questions that have not been answered yet. We will have time for some more questions at the very end. And make sure to ask your questions as they come. I will do my best to keep my eye out for these questions along the way so that we get to answer them either during or after the webinar. So in April, let me just first, before we start, you see, if you already see this, you might answer that. However, I'm gonna take a look at the chat. We have Ola, we have Henrik who says he's new. Welcome, welcome Henrik. We have first time for Sandy as well. And we have Anastasia, who's also new. Tina is also new. Kathy has been with Artefacto for a couple of years. Tommy has experienced some Artefacto events. We have 5 years from Anna. Eliana, welcome Eliana, and welcome back Marianne. Hey Alba. Claudia has been a student since 2023 and learned a lot. Beautiful, thanks for sharing that. Jeanette, 3rd or 4th session. Michaela, 4 years, first time for Linda. Since April from Anne. Primavera Ves, Contigo from Conchita, so the first time. And Andy, first session, a couple of years from Eva. So we have a lot of different experiences there. And the next question that we have for all of you is, have you learned with Keiko before? Because we have some people who have been lucky enough to learn from Keiko already. You can see some beautiful paintings here. My attempt here, I really like the way she explained how to achieve a painting from the beginning of an idea. Finally managed, great lesson, wonderful explanations. Thanks from my heart, Keiko and Artefacto School. So you can see some beautiful student works here. So if you've already painted with her, please write I have in the chat, or anything that helps us. Oh, a plus, write a plus in the chat, that's even easier. Wonderful! And we have a few yeses. We have a few yeses, Carrie and Jackie and Ju and Harriet, wonderful. And it's the first time for very many of you as well. So super happy to be here. So I'm gonna start by introducing Keiko a little bit, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Keiko herself so that she can explain more about her journey to where she is today. So born in Kyoto, Japan, in a city where art lives in the spaces in between objects, where we see more than just the objects in themselves. And she has been taking this path through different worlds, different parts of the world, from Tokyo to California, to running an international business. And during this time, she has created 9 books, 4 DVDs, 400 plus workshops worldwide. She's also a brand ambassador for Winsor Newton, a Scott International brand, and others. And you can see some of her beautiful artworks here. And in 2003, at an age when many believe it's too late to start learning a new skill set, Keiko walked into an art school. And then 2 years later, she had her first exhibitions, and every year since that, she has had grandiose lines, achievements, magnificent works appear in her career. And here we have one of those examples. Such a beautiful painting. And I'm gonna hand it over to you soon, Keiko, but let me start by asking you this question. What gave you the courage to start over at that point in life? And was there a moment when you knew that this is what I have to do?
Well, to be honest, I don't know if I had courage. Maybe I should say, if something worked for me, maybe it was ignorance. Sometimes people say ignorance is bliss, right? I didn't know what's ahead of me, but I knew art was always in my heart. I loved drawing, especially, and also painting as a child. I used to do that all the time, but I just didn't think about taking that path as an adult. I had other interests that I wanted to pursue, and that's what I did. But art never left me. It was always in my heart. And just the desire to create just grew and grew. And then I think around 2003, I realized it was there. Before that, I was immersed in other things, which I enjoyed as well. But I noticed that desire was still there in my heart. So I started dabbling, I started sketching. So I don't know if I had any courage. But of course, if you meant when I decided to quit my previous job to make art full time, that took some courage, I must say. I didn't know what to expect. And so, but I was willing to take the challenge.
Wonderful. So there was definitely a spark there, and that's a spark that has continued to drive you and to share new experiences and to watch the world in new ways. So we would love to hear more and learn more about your journey and also from your journey. So I would love to invite you to share your presentation and your story with us so that we can get
Okay,
inspired.
thank you, Hannah. So allow me to switch to this screen. Okay, I'll do a slideshow for you. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. Now, is it starting? Slideshow starting?
We only see the overview of it so far.
Oh, I don't know why it's not responding, but it's okay. I can just go by one, and but you see, right? The next page.
What happens if you click? I don't know. No, I don't know where to press on
You
this
don't
one
see anything?
actually.
What do you see?
No, I was just curious how to start the slideshow, but I don't know this, so I'm gonna hand it over to you to figure that out.
Okay. Now, do you see something on the screen? Oh, there it is, right?
Yeah. It's not full screen, but we see the slides.
Okay. Well, it's live, right? Technical glitch. Sometimes it happens when we practice, everything worked fine. But anyway, I think that I'm going to just talk about these things as an introduction of myself. And so, when I decided to do art, and yeah, I just acted on one thing that was passion, love of craft. I just love making art, making paintings. And then I'm a hard worker. When I want to achieve something, I work very, very hard, and I have no problem focusing on that. Sometimes it can create a problem because that means I may have to neglect other aspects of my life, but I really focus on art. And but first thing for me was to learn the basics. I didn't know anything. I the Hannah's presentation, it mentioned art school, but I didn't actually go to art school. I just took some art classes here and there. I live in San Diego, California, and that's where I took classes, but not many. Just few classes, just to learn the basics. And I set my goals, which is to keep painting, to develop a style that I can call my own. I knew it would take a long time, probably a lifetime, but I was determined to do it. But also, I understood that the support system was necessary. So I joined some art groups locally, first Watercolor Society, and then in national level watercolor societies. So, get to know other artists. That was and also to support each other. That was important for me. To live as an artist. And then also I knew there's no shortcut. It's a long road, but I decided to enjoy the journey. I knew there would be lots of hurdles, but I decided to enjoy the journey from the onset.
Thank you,
So, but
Keiko.
anyway, I
We had
told
a
you.
suggestion. We had a suggestion from Jada that maybe you can press resume slideshow there up in the left corner. See what happens if you click resume slideshow. No,
Okay.
yeah, that might work. But the resume slideshow in a small red box to the
Resume.
left, underneath the word design. There, if you click resume slideshow,
Oh,
what
okay,
happens
okay, okay,
then?
okay. Oh, there it is. Okay, well, this is
Yes!
not the I wanted to show you, but
No,
I have to
we
go
have to
back
scroll
quite
back.
a lot.
But there, now we have the full screen.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, so I thought I might show you some of the artworks I made as a child. So these are the kind of things I was doing, almost as a hobby. I just liked it. So this was probably earlier, like when I was in elementary school or junior high school, and maybe high school. And after that, I kind of stopped creating because that's when I had to prepare to go to university, and I decided to study something else. But years after, when I came back to art, in my mind, because I wanted to do landscape, it was natural for me to go outside and start painting outside. And so I started doing plein air painting. If you know the word, plein air means outdoors. And then also I did a lot of paintings in the studio as well. So I was both a studio painter and plein air painters. But let me show you some of the examples of my plein air work. In the beginning, it was kind of sketchy like this, but I just wanted to go out and then feel the moment and then to capture the essence. So, but over time, I think that look of my plein air paintings have more, I guess, a more refined, appearance. And these are my early studio paintings, but it has a certain energy that I thought I could usually get when I worked outside. And so my studio paintings are a little rough, in my opinion, but at the same time, the objective is to capture the essence. And then over time, and they got refined as well. And so right now, but these are studio paintings, but early work of mine. But both in the beginning, my plein air work and the studio work had a little bit different look. But over time, I think they almost, end the result that I get in either way, wherever I painted, had certain level of quality, I think. So it's, to me, I know the difference, but to other people, when I ask, they can't tell the difference. I think the reason is because I just like painting. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter where I am. And so the Frida Kahlo said, she said it so beautifully. And that's why I put this quote right here. The only thing I know is that I paint because I need to. It's a need for me. And I paint whatever passes through my head without any other consideration. So that's why it doesn't matter where I am. So years after that, so maybe this is like a 5-10 years after I started painting. And then I think my style has emerged around this time. Like this. Yeah. So, these are the figures, right? But in a landscape. And so even though I usually introduce myself as a landscape artist, like this one, it's about the story. It's about the life of people. And so that's what interests me from the beginning, actually. Like this. Yeah, so, this is my hometown. So, and this is a very special place for me, but doesn't really matter where it is. I think what interests me most is because just a slice of daily life, whether there are people or not. I think that's why maybe I keep traveling, and it doesn't take a long time for me to find a subject because it's everywhere. And then I see beauty in it. And then also to make a painting, instead of just painting everything that I see, I want to express my feeling. I'm sure you're the same way. And so what do I feel about this? And in the moment, in that place, at that time, that's what I focus on when I paint. So how can I capture that feeling with the shapes, colors, and brush strokes? That's what I think of next. But I think I just feel I learned just basic techniques. I may not know everything about watercolor painting, but I think I know most of the techniques, and I've been practicing a lot. And so I think I understand how to use them well. And also in my mind, I know when the colors work and the, colors, harmony of color. That's what I like to see at the end of the process. And then also composition. To create a good painting, I think we really have to take time and take composition seriously. So I even take time to plan ahead for the composition to make sure it's strong, to capture the essence and also tell the story that I was attracted to. So the materials in the mentorship program, and I will be showing you painting demonstration each time. But the materials are also important because it's not just about the techniques. What we use also have to work together. So we'll be talking about that as well. But I think in the last, pretty much the whole time, in the beginning, I didn't know much, but after I tested some samples, I think I found the right material for me for paints, brushes, and paper. I've been using pretty much the same things over the last 10 to 15 years. So, but it takes time to get to know the material. I usually, when I try something new, I usually like to give myself 6 months before I say I like it or it doesn't work for me. So it's, I mean, we have to make it work for us. And then there's, for every one of us, there is the best paper, best brush, and best whatever out there. But we have to look for it, and then we have to spend time. And because in the beginning you may not like it, but maybe you will learn how to make it work. So give yourself time. So creative process. Hopefully at the end of this program webinar, I hope I have time to show you a small painting demo. But just to give you an idea, especially if you haven't watched my demo before, how do I create a painting from the beginning to the end? Just briefly. So this is a studio painting. I usually start with a drawing. Of course, at that point, I have to understand the composition very well. So what's the focal point? Is the arrangement of shapes? Does it work? And to tell the story. And then I do a wash, initial wash. I don't necessarily start from the top. For this painting I did, but I just color everything. But also the shading white is important. That's where the silence is. That's where the light is. And it speaks volumes. So the shading white, especially because I don't mask anything, is crucial at this stage of the process. But otherwise, I use colors. But of course, that too. There's so much thought that goes into it and in choosing right colors. I just like the colors that I choose to use in particular painting to harmonize, sing at the end. And you may notice one side, the top part of the painting has almost like a finished look, whereas the lower part is almost nothing, just the initial wash and very weak wash. But you can see I don't hesitate to use darks almost from the beginning. That's an example of this photo is an example of this. So I may not use the darkest dark from the beginning, but I start using darks fairly early. And then because of that, my painting process is not very long. I'm able to finish painting pretty fast. And the whole painting is like this. And also the plein air too. Well, this is the scene I was about to start. I paint the same way. I think about composition, make sure it's strong to make the point. What is it that I'm saying that I want to communicate in my painting? I had to start from there to think about the composition. And after that, because I think about it, I gain confidence about the composition, and I use the confidence to draw. And after drawing, I do initial wash, usually a light wash first, but immediately after I start using darks. So it's almost done. This is end result. So as you can see from these two examples in the studio and the plein air situation, my painting process is the same from the beginning to the end, the same process. So I've been doing art, watercolor painting, precisely. I don't do much other things. 99% of my time is spent doing watercolor painting, and full time since 2005. So 20 years I've been doing this, but it's a journey. I wouldn't say it's a long journey, but 20 years it's a long time actually. So what kind of things I have done? So that's what I like to talk about from here. So I don't do this anymore. Art fairs and taking the whole studio outside to sell. I mean, to show and of course to try to sell paintings outside, and also to introduce myself to the public. I'm an artist. I make this kind of painting, and meeting people, lots of people. I did this kind of thing a lot in the beginning, and then of course I had to produce. So I was constantly painting wherever I was, and this is Venice. This is Mexico. And also I started teaching workshops soon after, maybe 5-6 years after I started painting. I didn't think that I'm eligible or I'm qualified to teach, but people started asking me to give lessons, and I started teaching. And then also I started getting invited to exhibit my work at home and abroad. This was in Belgium. And also I had some solo exhibitions. And also sometimes I got featured or published in the magazines. These magazines you may know, depending on where you live, you may get it. And also I self-published some books and DVDs. And lately I spent a lot of time teaching workshops, as you may know, going one place to another. It could be studio, it could be plein air, but I do enjoy teaching. I do enjoy sharing what I know, what I can do, and to help people to achieve their goals. Here's another quote that I like. If the artist's will is not strong, he will see all kinds of unessential things. The real artist's work is a surprise to himself. I think that is so true, but it's not easy. How do we make our painting strong? Well, the answer may be here. We have to make sure our will is strong. But how do we make sure our will is strong, right? But first of all, what's our will? What's our intent before we start? I think we have to be very, very aware of that. And then you paint. I think after you learn the basic techniques, I just feel you don't have to worry too much. There are certain things that maybe it's good to think about, even do some sketches about in the beginning. But once you start painting, just paint. That's all I say. And then trust your gut. I think that's very important. And that's why the end result is a surprise, because you don't know when you're painting what you're doing. Of course, deep down, your soul knows what you're doing. If your will is strong, I think that's what I like to believe. Okay, so I think there may be more I might want to share with you, but for today, that's it as an introduction of myself.
Thank you for sharing that. That was a beautiful explanation of your process. And I have one more question on this theme before we move to the next chapter. And that is,
Okay.
what emotions have you had during this experience? So you started taking some classes, and then 2 years later, you just quit everything else and did this full time. What kept you moving so fast to the next and the next and the next thing? Has there been fear along the way? Has it only been excitement? And what are those how have you navigated the emotional aspects of becoming an artist and growing as an artist?
Like I said earlier, I think the desire was already inside me, desire to create. So that kept me moving so fast. I don't know if it was fast. For me, I was just determined. And so I didn't know if I was moving fast or moving slow. Right? And also, did I have fear? I think if you dive into the unknown, there's always fear factor, right? But my desire to create was so strong. I didn't really feel it much. I think maybe I try not to look at it. Maybe it was glaring at me, but I try not to look at it because the excitement was winning always.
Wonderful. I love that, to just trust the excitement and trust the process and trusting the creative spark to take you to the next chapter without worrying about time and worrying about details and just trusting your gut. It sounds like the journey is similar to the painting process, that you just have a vision, you go for it, and then you let that gut do the work and you let the painting paint itself, with you as a co-creator of the experience, both of your paintings
Oh,
and
you said
of
it
the
so
artist's
beautifully,
journey.
Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And let's take a look at a couple of more. And as we've already seen, there are people, there are figures, there's architecture, there's landscape, there are some details, there's a lot of not so much detail, there's light, there's dark, there are different techniques. So those of you who are watching this live, which of these paintings speaks to you and which aspect speaks to you? I noticed many people loved the Kyoto painting, the turquoise Kyoto painting, and we might have composition, it might be the atmosphere, it might be the suggestive aspect. So please share what it is that you feel inspired by, because when you say that out loud or type that, your eyes are gonna watch that, you're gonna observe that, you're gonna help each other to see the different things that you want to learn, which is gonna help you learn and absorb more of what Keiko has to share. So please write in the chat what you take away. And let me see some comments here in the chat. We have, and we also have many wonderful questions. I am saving them for the Q&A part, just so you know. It's not like I do keep an eye out for the questions. Charlotte says, love the atmosphere. Francesca says, I like the abstract element, so this one. Claudia says, fabulous paintings and color mixing. Thanks for pointing that out, Claudia. And Kim says, definitely light. Melanie says, for me it's the mood, and for Karen also it's the mood. Rachel says, the depth and the mood. And Heidi says, light. And Anne-Sophie says, says, the poetry. That's a beautiful way of phrasing it. Tamina says, the Kyoto painting feels extremely enchanting and whimsical. So both enchanting and whimsical. Rita, it's also the mood. Light on the water, says Kathy. Jan says, the atmosphere is beautiful. So Danilo also says, mood. Catherine, light in water. Stillness and light, says Donatella. Anna says, both. Conchita, maravilloso ambiente y profundidad. Aliazia says, the blue color chosen in all of her painting as if it is her signature. Ooh, thanks for pointing that out, Alicia. And Maureen says the softness is so appealing. Aileen says the softness and the light. Evelyn says both, the atmosphere is magical. Tamina says, I like the dreamlike quality of how the details blur and meld together. Catherine says grace. Oh, there's so many beautiful comments here. Tina says, I love your more vague foregrounds, fluid, loose paintings. Sal Mary says, quick capture of architecture. The balance between the freedom of watercolors and the structure that is provided through experience when using them correctly. That's from Anastasia. Karen says, I love the atmosphere and architecture in the top one. Softness in the atmosphere is calming, says Jeanette. So lots of light and atmosphere and mood, but also some very specific things. When you hear this, Keiko, is there something that you get to see even more clearly when you hear someone else observing your works?
Oh, yeah. I think, like I said earlier, I paint because I need to. It's a need, right? And I, of course, I try to be you know, aware. Even I try to intend to say something in my painting. So what to focus on, what to bring forward in my painting. I think I'm aware of that when I'm painting. But like I said, once I start painting, I'm not really thinking. I don't like to think too much. I just enjoy the act of painting, to see the colors mingle, and then to see how this brush stroke work against or for another one, and the space between, the push and pull thing, and so all kinds of things that happens in front of me excites me. And then lots of times, especially if I'm not teaching, I don't even care about the result, because I enjoy the experience, and that's all matters to me. But hearing everybody's comments, and I think that's what they enjoy, what they like, and I think that's what I try to do. Try to capture, the light atmosphere, and then dreamlike quality, and then all of that and more that I just heard is what I like to see as well. So I really appreciated everybody's comments, but also, I feel like, and there's no mastery, and I just have to keep painting the rest of my life, and I just want to paint better. And so how do I do that? I don't like to be complacent. I like to keep challenging myself, to keep trying new, well, I don't know if there are new techniques, but something new. And
Ah,
to see what else I can achieve in my painting. So
thank you so much
to
for sharing
explore
that.
new territory.
Yes, that passion is contagious, and the artwork is so beautiful. And we will delve even more into how we can make watercolor landscapes feel more atmospheric, emotional, and alive. And this webinar will also be a good fit now if you struggle with creating depth, mood, or believable light. And if you love Keiko's work and want to understand how she thinks when painting, we will talk more about that. And if you're tired of flat, undefined landscape and want to bring more clarity and intention to your composition, that's also something we're going to touch upon. Seek a simple explanation of what actually creates atmosphere in watercolor. This is one of the things we will look at as well. And if you want a chance to ask Keiko questions and learn directly from an internationally acclaimed artist, this is also a wonderful opportunity for that. And we will speak specifically more on landscapes, because that is the theme of the masterclass, or the opportunity for those of you who learn more with Keiko. So now, speaking more specifically on landscapes right now, what is one of your biggest struggles? Please share that in the chat, and I'm going to ask you, Keiko, what are some common challenges that you hear from your students when it comes to making landscapes feel beautiful, atmospheric, and alive?
Well, but to this question, I would just tell you that every time I teach a workshop, the first thing in the morning, on the first day, I always ask my students a question, the same question, always the same question. Why did you decide to take this workshop? That's when they tell me. And then I think that answers the question. And a lot of people tell me how to capture atmosphere, how to capture mood or light. And that's difficult. And then sometimes they don't know how to do it, or they're not satisfied with how they do it. And also the second, maybe, or something close, but the close second is composition. Yeah. Well, some people told me that they have no clue how to go about it. Of course, a lot of people know already something about it, but I do spend a lot of time talking about composition, how to make it work. But of course, before that, there has to be an intent. What are you trying to say in your painting? You have to start from there. So those are typically the number one and number two.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. We have so many comments in the chat as well. We have people talking about clarity of color, value, adding too much detail, struggling with depth, struggling with light and depth, making the darks dark enough initially. especially when painting plein air, struggling with the tightness of my painting, creating a mood, so many different aspects that we've touched upon already. Bright and contrast, misty mood, wet surfaces, getting the tone right. Oh, so many good comments here. We will also today
Yes.
open limited enrollment for the first ever launch of Keiko's mentorship, which is this 4-month experience that Keiko shared about for those of you who were here at the very beginning. We will share details about that later. So, and those of you who are here will get a special invitation deal. So we will talk about mood specifically now, because now we have seen lots of paintings where mood and atmosphere has just been such an integral part of the painting and the energy that they send out. So first and foremost, what does atmosphere mean to you, and what are some keys or some tricks that you have found help us create a sense of atmosphere when it comes to painting, and also creating a sense of mood using watercolor?
Oh, sorry.
You
I
tuned
thought you were
out.
asking your guys, so I thought that you were there or writing something in the chat.
No, I was
Okay,
asking
so
you.
yeah, that's you can take it literally, and like the air, right? Or especially in the distance. That's of course one of the the things you can call atmosphere. But there are lots of other things, and lots of people, to the previous question, said how to capture mood. Mood is also another type of atmosphere, and that is also important for me. What kind of mood do I want to create in this painting? I think about that first, and then and also it can be light, right? And because one of the things I enjoy creating painting is capturing light. For that, we need darks. Without darkness, there's no light, and the light is also one big thing. And also, especially if you do plein air painting, it could be about the weather, like a mist and fog, and well, even from the photo, that's another type of atmosphere. And also, it could be time of day, right? In the morning, atmosphere midday, atmosphere in the late afternoon. It's all different. Especially if you do painting outside and you go to the same place, you might be maybe experience that yourself, and so that could be that. But I think it has a strong tie to your emotion. So how do you feel about the subject you choose to paint? I think, in my opinion, you have to start from there. So your emotional tone, that's a big component of what's called atmosphere in a broader sense.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I love how you take it back to not just technical aspects, because yes, those are helpful, but without the soul, they will not create the energy and the mood and the atmosphere that you want to send out to the world. And we have one other aspect that is part of your process. So I'm going to hand it over to you now to talk about ma, which is a Japanese concept, the meaningful space between elements. And this is something that I feel that many of us who live in and learn in Western cultures, and even if you just never have studied this can be super beneficial. How has this influenced you as an artist, and how does this influence you as a teacher of art and painting?
Okay. Well, have you ever heard of this word, ma? This is a question to everybody. It's a Japanese word, but as Hannah explained, it's in a space between. And for that, I would like to do a little demo. So I will switch my camera. Okay, so, well, the ma, literally, it means a space between. Okay, so it can be, any objects, any shapes. If there's a shape like this, well, let's put another shape, identical shape. The space in between is ma, like here, right? And it could be inside the shape. If I put a line inside, or this one, I put it right in the middle, and I created two spaces. So that line is ma. So that's the literal meaning of ma. But when we, Japanese people, use this word ma, lots of times it's something a little bit more than this. So I like to talk about that. So how do I say? It's because it's not something we can see. It's more, let me put it this way. It's more about the space between two different timings. Yeah, so I can just say the ma is a timing. Because we have this expression in Japanese, ma no torikata o narau. Literally, it means learning how to understand ma, how to understand the timing. It's important. It's considered to be important to live as a member of a society in Japanese culture. And so maybe you heard the expression, well, in Japanese, kuki o yomu, literally it means read the air. In English, probably the closest expression is read the room or something like that. Maybe because Japan is an island country, and because lots of people live there in a relatively small space. So we have to, it's important for them to maintain harmony in the society. So to learn this skill is extremely important, I think. So the timing, but how do we learn? Well, just by living, I think we learn that in a social setting. But in art, I don't know if they still teach it, but at the time when I was going to school in Japan, they taught calligraphy. So that's what I'd like to show you a little bit here. Well, I will continue. So actually, I started with 2 squares, but I had one character in mind, which is this. Well, this is the character for ma. Well, Hannah showed it in her presentation with this particular character. So if you recall, if you have a good memory, maybe you recognize this, right? Even though you never used it, you never saw it before. Well, this is the character we use in Chinese characters. Thank you, Hannah, for showing it, to write Japanese. So this is one of the many characters, but this is a ma. And that's the pronunciation, but this is what it looks like. But to write this, well, lots of times nowadays we write everything on computer, but in old days they wrote everything with a brush, right, on a piece of paper. So, well, that's how calligraphy developed as an art form. So to write this character, this is how we do it. Well, let me first tell you, every character, there's a certain order. Well, like in English alphabet letters too, there's a right order to write, right? So the characters as well. So this particular character, I will follow the rule and to write in the right order. But I want you to just observe, it's not just what I'm doing on the paper, but the brush and how I use my brush. That's what I want you to look at. Well, I'm not an expert in calligraphy, so this is not maybe very good. But I think you can see the difference between this and this. There's certainly energy to it, but also each stroke is alive. This is kind of dull and then dead looking and boring, in other words. This has a certain energy and it's very expressive. But I can only achieve this look by moving the brush a certain way, and also the timing. Some of the strokes, well, there are not many, but there are several strokes to make this character. I had to move the brush very slowly. Some I had to move very fast. But also from one stroke to another, when the brush leaves the paper and then move in the space above the paper, to begin the next stroke, sometimes I move it very fast, sometimes go slow. So that timing is called ma, actually. So, but if I miss it or if I don't understand it, I will probably, well, I can still write this character, but the result, it has a different feel to it. So, but this one is a fairly simple character, but for people who don't normally use, and maybe it's pretty complicated. But even a simple character, let me put just this one. This is a character for number one, number one. But in a calligraphic way, or with a little bit more understanding of ma, it has to be like this, like that. There is a difference, right? So that's the kind of thing what's one of the things I like to talk about when I teach mentorship, when I do a painting demo. But as a concept, this is very, very not only interesting, but I think it's maybe important, especially if you want to try something new. This may be, this may not be just for Japanese thing. In every culture, there's maybe a concept that speaks about it. But like I said, ma is a space, like a literal space or the timing, but that's where you see nothing, right? So I can even say ma means silence. So, but it's a silence that communicates. And so it's, but there's a lot to it, right? There's a lot of philosophy. There's actually even life there. And so I think it's learning ma is learning to sense life between actions to different timings. So it's that, maybe very subtle, but it's a sensitivity. But we can use this sensitivity in watercolor painting. So learning this sensitivity, so the learning, when the painting tells you when it's time to stop, when it's time to start, is crucial, I think. So ma, not the literal meaning, but in a broader meaning, in almost like a philosophical meaning, is something that I think underlies in my thinking when I paint. So that's why I wanted to show you something about it.
Thank you, Keiko. And we have already received a couple of questions, so I'm gonna read them before we move on to anything else. First and foremost, James asks, does the resulting energy then express the emotion of the writer when using ma?
Yeah, so if you inject your emotion, I think this can happen even if you don't know anything about this. So I think, like I kept saying, why you're painting this, and I think emotion, what kind of emotion you're feeling, is, if you know it, I think you can make this happen. So actually, it's not such a difficult thing, and we are all maybe already doing it, but being I think aware of it and a bit more sensitive to it, I think that can create a difference and elevate the level of our painting. At least take it to a different direction. It's always good to explore, right?
It feels like we could probably talk for weeks about this, because there seems to be so many aspects of this. And we have one more question from Ben. Is ma also the space between two breaths?
To what?
Two breaths. So inhalation, exhalation in between.
Oh, yes, yeah. It can be, this concept can be explained in so many different ways. And it can be applied in every facet of our life, I think. I mean, because I assume we're all watercolor painters. Maybe I will do I talk about this while doing kind of a painting, I think, on a different sheet of paper, because this is calligraphy. We're not doing calligraphy, right? So something simple. So can be a space between light and dark, can be space between here and there, meaning distance, or, well, let me just show you. Yeah, so just a simple wash, right? But I'm showing you a kind of a landscape here. You may not see anything, but yeah, so I just did a wash and showing slightly different tones and slightly different colors. But if it's a typical landscape, usually top is the sky, the bottom is the ground, right? You can look at it that way. So, but that was done. So, and then time is passing, right? And if I do something on top of it, I'm doing at a different time. And then space between, actually right now, when nothing is happening, there is silence. That's ma, right? And I'm trying to be aware, when is the time when I have to take the next action? I'm waiting. Yeah, I decided to just make a simple scene. I started doing, well, maybe you see trees. I started painting trees because I thought time was now. Of course, I could have waited longer, or I could have started doing this right after I did a wash, but I waited a little bit to make them look like this, little blurry. Well, this is just a simple scene, but using my imagination, it's not something that's in front of me. I don't have a photo of it. Yeah, so just to explain Ma in a watercolor painting, and the paper is drying, so it's almost done. Yeah, so this also is about atmosphere, right? Just one example, not everything, of course, and how to create certain atmosphere. So the technique-wise, I did a wash. It was a little bit graded wash to start with, and I waited a little bit, but I started painting trees before the paper dried completely. So, and I used quite a lot of water in the color mixture to paint trees, but I made sure trees will be darker than the sky behind. And so there they are, but not too contrasted. But most importantly, I wanted to create a certain mood with the soft edges. So I had to paint trees on the wet paper, but not terribly wet. So timing was an issue. It was so important. If I had done it earlier or a little bit later, I get totally different look, as you can imagine. But at the same time, in the reflection in the water, I wanted to show a little bit different look. Of course, that may, that makes sense. If reflection is always what's happening. So it cannot be too different. But I wanted to show you a little bit the contrast, a different type of contrast. So I gave, the reflection a little harder edges. So, but that's also example of ma. And I think if you have contrast, there's the space between is always ma. You can call that ma. So I can you can actually, if you think that way, you see ma everywhere, right? But since we're trying to understand what the atmosphere is in a landscape painting, and also together with this concept of ma, I thought I would do this demo, and hopefully I can do another one at the end. And but it's just a little example. So
thank you so much for that, and you're welcome back if you want to switch cameras. And I absolutely loved to see Ma implemented in watercolor painting specifically, because oftentimes when we fall into thinking technique and timing becomes just waiting for the right moment, this paradigm of seeing the Ma creates presence in all of the process in a way that just fills the painting practice with meaning all of the time, which was so beautifully shown by you, Keiko. Super fascinating.
thank you. Yeah. So I sometimes equate watercolor painting to like music, playing music. So the musical note is like a brush stroke is a musical note. And when you listen to music, good music, and the musical note it feels and alive and just good, right? But if it sounds kind of stiff and rushed, it's not working. You don't think it's good music, right? So good watercolors, it's just like good music. It really depends on learning and when to play and when not to play, So it's really interesting.
So true. A beautiful analogier. Yeah, it's a beautiful similar image. We do have some questions for you now, so that we learn even more specifically of the internal process. We've sensed it now, we're going to talk more. So if you want to change camera so we get to see you as well, that would be lovely. And the questions that I have for you is, how do you prepare mentally before you start painting? What happens in your mind? You have mentioned to us that you have trained to see, so that you don't just jump into the unknown. You have a bit of a vision and you prepare your mind before painting. How do you train your eyes to see where you're going while keeping that fresh dance as well at the same time?
Yes, this is something I didn't really realize, how important that is in the beginning. But over time, I think it became very clear that I had to take some time to think why I'm doing this painting, right? So what inspired me? I go back there instead of, oh, that's pretty. And in the beginning, that was enough for me. And that's beautiful. Oh, that's exciting. That was enough for me. And I started painting right away. But sometimes I had a good painting at the end. But to be more mindful of what inspired you in the beginning. I think if you start from there, you can get a pretty good idea of the design of a painting, how it should be, to really express that, to focus on inspiration. And that way, I think there's a theme, there's something you want to communicate in your painting if you're aware of it. So I think it's the mindset. So being aware what it is that the first thing that made you want to paint, and then if any elements around it, you have to allow yourself freedom to move things around. Another thing, and I hear quite often from students as a struggle, is how to simplify what to take out, what to keep in a painting, what to leave out. And but if you know your focus, it doesn't necessarily mean a focal point, actual focal point, but it can be. I can replace it as a focal point. And any other elements around it, if it's not working to enhance your focus in your painting, maybe it's not necessary. Think about taking it out. So I think over time I learned to see things that way. It's interesting. Sometimes I don't see things. I don't see everything sometimes, because in my mind, I'm already focusing on the scene I'm going to paint. I don't see certain things because my brain already decided I don't need those things. So sometimes if I'm doing a demo, or sometimes somebody comes and want to see what I'm doing, I say, how come you didn't paint that? They ask me. Oh, that's the first time I see it, because it was not necessary to tell the story I wanted to say, I wanted to tell. So
Wow, we're going to talk more about this particular aspect. So first and foremost, we have a just question for those of you who are here live right now. When you face a complex scene, how do you decide what to keep and what to leave out? If any of these applies, you can write 1, 2, 3, or 4, or you can write words if you have something else, such as Keiko just shared. What's important for me is what I keep. What draw me to this image is what I keep. But if you feel that you are more in this, I include everything and hope for the best category. Or 2, I try to squint and see shapes. Or 3, I take out some details, but I'm not sure which ones. Or 4, I don't even know where to start to decide what to keep and what to leave out. Please share your experience in the chat so that we activate those thought processes within all of us.
number 2, that's very good. The point number 2,
Yeah,
that's very good. And I do that too.
nice. So I'm gonna leave this while I read the chat. We have lots of 2s here. We have 2s from Tommy, Eileen, and from Jaya, Teresa, Sue, Rosa, and then we have 4 from Claudia. Don't know where to start with that. We have 3 from Angela. Take out some details, not sure which. We have 4 from Heidi, 3 from Cindy. So we have 4, 4. 3, 4, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. So we have lots of these. So different experiences. 3, if it may look complicated, I leave it out. Yeah, that's smart. And we're gonna explore this a bit more. Keiko, is there anything else you want to add to what you've already shared when it comes to this decision making?
Yeah, so this is not the right or wrong thing. I think at the end, your painting has to look good, and you are happy with it, happy with the result. That's it, right?
Yeah.
So just because I do certain things, and do you have to? No, you just have to decide yourself. I mean, I'm not even saying details are bad. Some details are important, but just enough. That's what I like, and maybe you want that even less, more, or maybe more. That's you. So you just have to to be brave, and then also confident, and just to know what you want in your painting. Just don't be afraid of what other people may say or think of your painting. I think you can be very proud. You should be very proud of what you create. If you worry too much about other things, it's a noise. Just ignore it, and just true to yourself. Be true to yourself, and that's one. But of course, I think as we often hear, less is more. I think if we paint, I think we want to have good painting, a strong painting. I'd rather say that way. How to make a painting strong? One way is going minimalist, right? Less is more. I think it's more powerful. And then even in a silence or ma, or even white space, and we have another expression in Japanese, yohaku no bi. It's not too much about ma, but the translation of that phrase is beauty of emptiness. Don't say too much, just keep it empty. You can put a little color, a little detail, a little texture, that's fine. It doesn't have to be completely white. But I think every painting needs a space where our eyes can rest. So you can think about, you can, approach this that way as well. But there are many ways we're going to explore together.
Wonderful. And in all of your paintings, we see how you give the viewer space in between the details, in between the texture, in between the contrast. We have the spaces in between. And it's so beautiful, and I think we're mesmerized, those of us who are here. And I also know that if we have time, you wanted to share something more. So if you want that, we would love to watch you if you're comfortable with sharing some more insights.
Yeah, so how to simplify a painting? I think that's what we're talking about, right? And also at the same time trying to create a certain mood, the painting that is full of light and atmosphere. And so I hope this little demo will what said. Okay, let me get another bit of paper. Yeah, so usually I do a little drawing first, but even drawing, I think, it should be simplified. And then also another word I often hear is loose. A lot of people tell me when they come to my workshop, I want to learn how to loosen up, and that's another word. And so loose, simple and loose. And that's what I like to do in this little demo. So I'm going to have to, once again, use my imagination a little bit more complex because I want to talk about to simplify. And also maybe something we might be painting something similar for this mentorship program. And I think the second or third session will be painting landscape with the water. Water is one of the things I love painting. Maybe that's I just like water, feel of water, or using water, doing something with the water. Actually, I'm afraid of water. I don't like to swim, but I just like what water does. And so maybe that's why I chose watercolor as my medium. And but anyway, painting the water, seeing with the water is something I love doing. And we're going to do at least one. And so I think Hannah will show us a little bit later the reference photos I chose for the mentorship program. And then you will see something like this. It's not exactly the same. I don't have the photo with me right now here. So almost imagination. This is almost imagination. But it's something like this. So the drawing, yeah, I'm drawing pretty much everything I'm going to paint. But certain things that I don't like to draw. So what are those things? For this one, or maybe reflection. And I don't know if I'm going to put trees in it. Usually I draw architecture, maybe because there are lots of straight lines and something man-made, the structures I tend to draw. So you see them, they're here. But something in nature, like, the mountains and trees and yeah, I don't know why. I just don't draw. I just paint with no pencil lines to help me. And but maybe the architecture perspective is important. That's why I feel I need to see some guidelines. But even that may be the reason, I try to make the drawing looser. So I never use a ruler when I draw, because I consider drawing to be a part of my painting. If the drawing is too tight, painting will look too tight. So And then I usually spend like a few minutes drawing. Of course, it's a very small piece, so it shouldn't take a long time. But even a big size painting, my drawing time is very short, very minimal. Yeah, so how to simplify? Well, first of all, simplify a composition. Instead of including lots of other things in the scene, I'm just focusing on this canal. And also, if you don't draw, maybe you are everything, maybe you're already simplifying your painting. And because I think as a human or as artists, maybe, when we see pencil lines, maybe not everybody, but a lot of us tend to feel, oh, there's a shape there. And maybe I had to change color there. And we think too much. And so if you don't draw everything, maybe that's one way to, one good way to simplify. And also when you paint on the wet paper, like I did trees, I just painted the sky. And of course, everything I paint on it, as paint spread, it will not show the exact shape. And of course, if you spread too much and then that whatever that is it will look too big in the painting, that can be a problem. But you can show a certain and very good atmospheric look, but also you're not really showing something in specific, so you can leave ask the viewer to fill the gap, sort of to ask their you're asking them to use their imagination and to understand what you might have painted. And so that's a good way, I think. I just feel painting is a way of communication. Of course, there are paintings that I don't really show to other people, but sometimes I don't mind showing to other people. I enjoy their feedback, and so it's a communication tool. I want them to participate. So if you make certain areas of your painting are rather mysterious, I think they're more intrigued and more engaged in your painting. That's a good thing. Okay, so I think it's the kind of the village, the look of the village I was thinking about is emerging, but my focus is not too much about the buildings. It's about the light. It's about the certain mood. Yeah, right now, I keep the paper totally flat on my table. So I'm not really letting the pigment run down as I often do. So it's the look that's developing is a little bit static. But I try to move the brush as fast as I can. And also when I move from one shape to another, I try, of course, there has to be still paint in my brush. Once it's dry, I have to go back to my palette. But as long as it's still wet, I don't want to leave the paper completely. But it doesn't really matter. So that what I'm just saying is that the mat we just talked about, between strokes, between washes, between shapes, between two colors, I'm in a transition period, I think, and I'm acutely aware of what I intend to do next. And then to make that work. So first stroke is not usually a problem. It's the next one. If I miss the timing, I can mess up. So, but first there has to be a plan, I think, what you intend to do. If you're not sure how you want to paint, you are lost, forever lost. And I don't like the feeling, of course. So until I get a pretty good sense of what I try to achieve, what I like to see at the end, I think I just keep. Well, I don't keep thinking, but I have to develop some idea first. So maybe I'll do a sketch to see if that happens. Sometimes that works. And but sometimes I just delve in and start painting, and that let the painting almost tell me how I should paint the scene. Yeah, so it's more like a sketch. Usually, sketch is something I do in one go. I don't do something first and let the paper dry, and then do some the next thing afterwards. That approach is usually I use that approach more for painting. So sketching approach, and that doesn't really matter where to go because I use the dark from the beginning. And then sometimes I just do a sketch using just one color. Then it doesn't really matter at all and where to go first. I just have to use the right value. Yeah, so the value is a word I may be using for the first time in this webinar, but I keep talking about it all the time when I teach or when I paint, because I think understanding value is crucial. Well, there are many important things, but if you don't understand value, you won't be it'll be very difficult to get a sense of depth and distance, and in creating space, and also edge. Yeah, especially water media. Yeah, is a perfect medium to create a nice soft edge or lost and found edges. I think you really have to understand the timing, right, to get a nice soft edges. And Yeah, so this is not the whole thing is not wet and wet, just certain parts. So to create a certain atmosphere, yeah, the wet and wet is very effective. And also lost and found edges. I use it a lot. And also creating depth and so the landscape as a subject matter is perfect, right? Because if you include the distant areas or the sky, there's always depth. But if it's a scene like this, like a street, well, this is not a street, it's a canal, with the architecture, the perspective, with the perspective, you can show depth. And that's one thing we'll be discussing. And then, and also what else? Atmosphere. But the color is also in the color choice or color harmony or color balance, color temperature, understanding how to use warm against cool. It's and also working with a limited palette, and all play a role. And then, at the end, for us to have a good painting at the end, we have to kind of understand how colors work. I'm not really talking about color theory, but I think knowledge is a power. It's good to know that. And so we'll be talking about that as well. But technique-wise, the painting part on this for this webinar, and the mentorship program mostly is, it's about how to create a certain atmosphere. Yeah, and each reference photo, it's slightly different. But there's always the wet techniques and then talk about the values and how to harmonize colors. And we will talk and practice that and for every single painting we're going to do. So, but anyway, Hannah, I know you still have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So, give it back to you.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. And we have gotten lots of questions. I have recorded them. I'm taking photos of all of the questions, so we're saving them till the end so that we keep the conversation on theme. But then we might take a look at these again and take a look at some questions regarding color choices and materials and all kinds of things.
I know we have so much to cover.
Yes, we do. And watching Keiko is of course super inspiring. And Keiko, if you want to switch to your face camera, that would be wonderful, so we get to talk with you. But as we might have discovered along our lives, inspiration alone doesn't change our lives. It doesn't change how we paint. It doesn't change what we know. It doesn't change our habits, how we see, how we feel, how we work. So how do you actually learn to see what to leave out and not just hear about it, but knowing it from the inside? Create atmosphere in your paintings. Stop overworking without losing a sense of enough control. You can follow a tutorial, you can get a good result. But when you're alone with a blank paper, where does that confidence go? You can feel surprised that you've been able to paint beautiful paintings, but how do you feel that you know that you have it within you? Well, some of the things that can help you a lot right now is to practice on your own and also have step-by-step guidance and getting feedback from someone who has walked the path and shared their experience with so many other people, and also understanding the why behind certain aspects and knowing that more and more within yourself instead of having it as abstract thoughts. So this is the reason why Keiko has created this mentorship that she has hinted at and mentioned previously throughout this webinar, for artists who are stuck between copying and freedom and who are ready to learn how to simplify with confidence and create beautiful atmospheric paintings that have that suggestive quality. So anyone who feels drawn to this, are more than welcome to join Atmospheric Landscapes mentorship with Keiko Tanabe. Learn to simplify complex landscapes into strong shapes and create atmosphere, not by copying details, but conveying mood and atmosphere, and enjoy 4 live demonstrations with personal feedback from Keiko. And here is an overview of what is included in this. The most important thing are the 4 live Zoom sessions with Keiko herself. And this is for anyone. There are 25 spots to join the live experience. And you will also receive the recording of these Zoom sessions with lifetime access. And those who are there on the spot in the live room will receive personal live feedback. And you will also paint 4 watercolor paintings in different techniques, and those who join the live experience will receive a certificate of completion of this mentorship. So who is this mentorship for? First and foremost, is for anyone who feels inspired by Keiko and just want to swim around in her knowledge more and dive deeper into everything she has to share. And everyone who feels that they're not fully equipped. You paint perhaps by feeling or perhaps by knowledge, but you want to understand why things work. And if you struggle with tutorials, that you can paint with tutorials, but you feel a bit that lack of confidence whenever you're alone, this is perfect for you. If you don't really know what to leave out and what to choose to include, and you're stuck in painting too many details, feeling that the painting gets either cluttered or just very difficult to paint, this is perfect for you. Or if you can copy but you have a hard time capturing a sense of atmosphere and mood, so if you can't have accurate paintings that feel a bit flat or lifeless, this is also very good for you. And if you have any sense of overworking, losing freshness, this is a great way for you to learn with someone through a process that will help you feel freer and freer. And if you want depth from a world-class master and you've outgrown that beginner stages and you're ready for the next step, this is a beautiful opportunity for you. So here are the 4 steps in this mentorship. We start with morning stillness, follow that with light breaking through, and then village by the water and path into the distance. And I'm gonna hand it over to you now, Keiko, to talk about what you focus on in the first session called morning stillness.
Yeah, so this is the first session, and then a little bit of an introduction to the rest. And so I chose more of a classic landscape as a reference. And then I talk about the structure of a landscape composition and also how to capture the mood of a morning in the countryside. So we will employ all kinds of techniques to achieve that, but also to cover the basics, what to know. And so as you can see, all the basics, it will be covered in the first session.
Thank you so much for that. And we see what kind of subject we have here, and then moving on to completely different light, completely different colors, light breaking through in session 2. What do you zoom in on and focus on specifically in this session?
Yeah, so this is more about the value, because as I said before, without darkness, there's no light. How to capture light, and then, in a landscape setting. That's the theme of the second session. And so, as you can see, there are lots of darks. Because of that, the light is powerful, right? So we practice how to create different values, and also to create the depth in a landscape painting. So, using values, not so much with colors. Of course, color and value, they have to work in hand. So that's a part of the program, but the focus is more on values.
Thank you so much for that. A beautiful aspect to have. And then moving on to something that might feel a bit challenging for many people, village by the water. Here there are some more architectural aspects. Please share what this session is specifically
Yeah,
about?
so I just shared a little peek into this session right now, right? It's a little bit different, but you can see that it's about the painting water, and but also the atmosphere, the very misty in the distance, and also by creating a perspective, just showing, using a perspective, we're creating a depth, illusion of depth in the painting. But this is more about, what watercolor does best, water scene.
Beautiful. And that's something that many people wrote that they loved about your artworks, how you depict water. So that's perfect for anyone who wants to learn that specifically. And then the fourth and final session, Path into the Distance. What is different about this, and what can we learn from this particular theme?
So this is the last session. So we want to do something almost as a review of everything we learned in the previous 3 sessions. So that's why I chose this one. But also we want to try something different, so the urban landscape is what I chose for this session. And so how to create a distance and how to simplify, especially for this session, is extremely important because of all the details. How to choose, which details we need and which ones we don't need, and the decision-making process I'm going to share with you. And then also the time of day, it's like a sunset time. The night is falling and there's a drama there. So how to capture that without showing too many details.
Ooh, sounds fascinating because oh my, how many details you could get lost in this one. So your guidance on this will probably help so many people so much. So thank you for sharing what is included. And here are some examples of some artworks that Keiko has done in the past. They're not the ones that you will paint in this one, but just an example of different colors, different scenes. And after this you will be able to paint in a similar style, but of course with your own signature brush strokes. And why this framework and format works is that there will be a small group intimacy. There are only 25 artists in this live experience, and Keiko gets to see your works, answers your questions directly. And there are these live demonstrations so you can watch every single brushstroke and learn about the decisions that Keiko is making in real time. It's not edited, it's not sped up. You can also watch them afterwards, so you will have access to them so that you can revisit and refine, and you can also pause and do it at your own speed. There is time to grow. These 4 sessions are held over 4 months so that you get time to practice in between and come back with questions and see your progress and really grow through these 4 months. And there's this real feedback, live comments during the sessions, and detailed written feedback on your final paintings as well from Keiko. This is beautiful to have both of these. Beautiful opportunity for anyone who feels inspired and want to learn directly from Keiko. And as I mentioned, there's also lifetime access to the recordings. And the result that you gain from this is that you get confident in simplifying any scene into strong, clear shapes and knowing what to keep, what to remove, or what to suggest and how to suggest it. And you get to create atmosphere and mood with confidence, master values, edges. We have some questions about edges. I hope we have time to answer them. And color temperature that make paintings glow, and finish your paintings with fewer brush strokes, and being brave to go to those darks earlier on and using big brushes to create expressive, beautiful paintings. Paint with intention, not guesswork, and practice this sense of visualizing what you want in the end before you start, and also balance structure with expressive looseness, believable yet alive, readable yet breathing. And then we have the 6th comment here, complete 4 atmospheric landscapes that you can use to see your progress and always go back to whenever you want to be inspired again. And those of you who join this live experience will also receive a certificate of completion. So you can use that to share with the world that you have studied with Keiko. And we provide the framework and you use it. So as Keiko says, keep it simple and you have a strong painting. Simplicity isn't a trick, it's a practice. So you will get the vision, you will get the feedback, you will get the knowledge, and then your job is to show up and paint and trust the process. And the guidance is here for you. And the growth is up to those of you who choose to join and make the most of it, because it's when you make the most of it that you open the next door to the next chapter. There are two learning formats here, and the one that I've been talking about is the elite plan. So the full immersion with the author, 25 spots. There's also a self-study access for anyone who prefers that. So let's take a look at them. So here are the regular prices. The elite plan or the premium, the live experience is $6.99 at the regular price, and the standard is $1.99. And the difference here, we will talk about that in a moment. However, right now we have this mentorship with an exclusive offer. So today, right now, we have the premium or elite plan here at $299 and the standard plan only $99. And you can see here that the difference is that the premium version, the live version, it's live, you get lifetime access to the recording in both of these, but the personal feedback, both live and also written on your final artworks, that's in the live experience. And one required independent artwork based on the cycle theme. You will learn more about that. That is also for the live experience, and access to the private WhatsApp group with a professional community manager. That's also in the premium plan, as well as the certificate of completion and assignments for tracking your progress. This is created for you to feel fully supported. And the recorded standard plan is a self-study version where you get to see the recordings. So the bonus for all of these plans, so both of these plans, is the recording of this conversation, so that you can go back and be inspired by any part of this conversation that we've had today. And now we have 23 of 25 places available. So we invite anyone who feels that they want to learn directly from Keiko. This is a unique experience and unique opportunity. So we have a limited number of spots, and a couple of them have already been taken in advance. So 23 spots, and if you want to be one of those, make sure to click the link that is below this video. You can scroll down and click the button that says join the mentorship, and there you can join. So if you're tired of flat overworked paintings and ready to create landscapes that breathe with atmosphere, this mentorship is your next step. And let's take a look at how the learning process is organized. First and foremost, you get to choose the elite plan, so the live experience. These 4 Zoom sessions are spread over 4 months. And each session focuses on the one atmospheric landscape, giving you time to practice and absorb in between these sessions. And you'll receive live feedback during the sessions, and also written feedback on your final paintings from the lesson. And then we have the standard plan, which includes the recordings, but no feedback. So all of the live sessions will be recorded and placed on our learning platform, and you'll have lifetime access, so you can rewatch them again and again at your own pace. And then we have all of the references and the materials in one place. So the photo references, supply lists of materials, and Zoom links will be available both on the platform and sent to you via email, so that it's super simple for you to find anything concerning this. And then we also have a specific WhatsApp group in the elite plan with a professional community manager, where you get to share your work, ask questions, get support, and stay motivated between sessions. And also there will also be personalized assignments to track your progress in the private chat. So this is a specific thing for the elite, the live version. So let me just click my way to the platform itself, so that you get to see how to join. So if you're new to Artefacto, you might have wondered how to join the, let me just make sure that this is the one that I'm sharing. Yes, perfect. So here you see this is where you come to if you click the join the mentorship button, and then you can choose your learning format here. And of course, I would highly recommend the Elite plan if you want to not just learn from tutorials, but learn from Keiko herself with personal feedback. And this is the price during this particular launch. So here you will enter your information, so your name, and let me write and a phone number of some sort. And then you click the proceed to payment, and you will get to a page where you can choose to pay either via bank card or PayPal. And you simply press continue, and then you will fill in your details. And after that, when you have done that and clicked pay, this is a secure payment. We don't get access to any of that information. After that, you will receive an email with all of the information you need. And also access to the platform where you will have the materials list, and the Zoom links will pop up there. So that is how the organizational aspects and the logistics work. So here's an overview once again. So the standard plan is the recorded version, and the premium plan is the live version. And now we have 23 spots left. I don't know if we still have that though. So super excited for those who joined this experience. And also, if after a couple of lessons, I am not sure if this is actually the case for the live experience, because we have a limited number of spots. So I cannot promise that this is the case for the mentorship program. It is the case for our standard plans, however, that after a couple of lessons, you can write to us if you don't feel that this is gonna give you the results that you want. But I cannot promise that this guarantee is also for the 25 live participants. Write us an email if you wanna know that in advance. So the button to join is below this screen, and if you have any doubts, we're gonna talk through some common concerns before you start, so that you feel that you know even more before you dive in. First and foremost, you might be wondering if this is going to be a good fit for you if you don't usually paint the landscapes. And our answer to that is that Keiko's mentorship is not specifically about landscapes. It's more about learning to see the principles of simplification, of atmosphere, values, and edges. So the soft and the hard, lost and found edges, they can be applied to any subject: cityscapes, still lifes, figures, and flowers. And there is still a variety of the themes that you will be painting during this mentorship as well. And once you learn to capture essence instead of copying detail, you can use this to transform everything you paint. So what if I can't paint between sessions? We absolutely understand that. Life happens. And that's why we have them for over a 4-month period, so that you don't have to put one weekend of your life into learning as much as you can, and then you hope that you remember it for the rest of your life. So even if you only complete one painting between sessions, you will see progress, and with lifetime access you can always revisit whenever your schedule opens up and learn and grow and progress even more afterwards. And if you can't attend live, we of course will give you the recordings, but if you're able to join at least once or twice so that you can be there, that will be invaluable. So if you choose the live version, we hope that you can attend 1 or 2 of them, but you don't have to be there live for all of these sessions, of course. This isn't a course, it's a membership, and it's one of the world's most sought after watercolor instructors, who's had hundreds of workshops worldwide, and you are getting 4 live sessions, personal feedback, written critique, and a method that can change how you see. So we would absolutely say that this is a much more worth than the investment. So I hope you feel that as well. So if you join us right now, you get the best price with up to 57% discount, and also the bonus of this conversation and a wonderful community and the live experience, which is not something we have all of the time. most of our courses. You can join them whenever you want. This is happening right now. And you have more information about the actual dates when you click the Join the Mentorship program, so you can take a look there. So the most important and valuable thing here is the structured path and the support to walk it. Many artists add layers to build intensity and they lose the freshness. Keiko does the opposite, mixes her darks early on, places accurate values very early, and finishes with fewer strokes. And the real secret is that she sees the finished painting, or senses and sees the finished painting before she starts. And this visualization will guide you to keep the energy that you want to send out to the world through your painting, and that will radiate through your artworks. And that is the gift that we hope that you bring from this experience. And now, with that being said, if you have any questions about the mentorship or about anything else, let's take some questions, and I have already lots of them. We have a question, Keiko. What time of the day will the live sessions be held? Do you know around what time of the day? Will it be around this time that we're having right now or something else?
I remember we chose dates,
Yes.
but the time, I don't remember whether we discussed it or not. I assume it'll be around this time. The time that works for most people. I mean, we're all from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So
Will you be where you are now, Keiko, or will you be in Japan during these live experiences?
No, and the first sessions I'll be in California.
Yeah. So my guess is that it will be around the same time so morning in California and evening in Europe is my guess.
I think so.
Because that's what works for both America and Europe. We had a question about masking fluid. Both, do you use it, and if you don't use it, how do you make sure to preserve the white of your paintings?
Okay, I don't use it. I might have it, but I don't even know where it is. So doesn't help. So, I mean, I've been painting 20 years, I told you already, without masking for 20 years. So I think I have learned to finish a painting without relying on it. So I have to really know where I want to preserve white of the paper from the onset. So it's, I plan ahead of time and I paint around it. That's it. That's all I do. There's no secret.
Thank you. And I just found the time. It is the same time. I typed it in the chat, so it's on the site. So when you go click the Join the Mentorship program, there are both dates and time there. So you can watch it there.
Okay,
so
good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And then let me see what we have. Yeah, we had a question from Neil. Could you please explain lost and found edges? What is it and how does it help the...
Yeah, so lost and found edges are just basically a combination of hard and soft edges. And I think you know what hard edge and soft edges are. So whenever we paint on a dry paper, we get hard edge. All the edges are visible. And whenever we paint on a wet paper, we get the soft edge. And the edges are very obscure and just, fading, like a diffusion whenever you see that. And it's painted on the wet paper. Lost and found edges, you get it whenever you paint on, hot, dry and wet paper. So it's randomly wet. And so when I want to create the lost and found edges, I wet the paper randomly. And I usually use a rough paper, and the texture of the paper is rough. So it's a little bit bumpy. And so when I wet the paper, I use a very, soft hairbrush and just gently and quickly wet the paper. So the water just sits on the top of the mountains, all the bumps. If you consider the mountains, top of the mountains, the water doesn't go deep into the valley. So and that's one thing. And also, really, literally, just one, small part, of course. And I wet it. The water can go into the valley, and the next area, I keep it dry. So when I run the brush over it, and I get both. So that's usually how I create the lost and found edges. There are other ways. You can just, do something on the dry paper, and then everything comes, up with hard edge. and then you can randomly, or maybe you know where to soften edges, you can soften edges afterwards. So there are different ways,
Thank you
but
for
it's a
that.
combination of hard and soft edges.
And when you now mentioned paper, let me also ask this additional question, which is, you mentioned you use rough most of the time. Which brand is the paper that you use?
I've been using Arches or Arche, and it's French paper, so more correctly Arche from the beginning. But I have tried other paper and I use them, like Waterford Saunders. It's one of my another one of my favorites. And then I have used Fabriano, but and Winsor Newton. And so those are the types of paper I use, but mostly Arches and Waterford. But you have to find your own favorite. I think if you don't know, try different brands and see, because each paper is different. And then knowing what you're using, especially paper, is so important. Each paper behaves differently. So
We have
find one that works for you.
so many thank yous and sweet comments. So many sweet comments. Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Sylvie. Thank you, Adriana and Jeanette. So many sweet comments in the chat. Beautiful. And also to Claudia's cat, who was also there typing a bit. Some random things. And then we have also a question about the paint. My guess is that you use Winsor & Newton. Is that correct?
I do, but I also use Sennelier. Lately, actually, I've been using more Sennelier. That's a honey-based pigment, and also Holbein. Yeah, so I mix and match, but probably one of those mostly.
And then we had a question
But
from Amy.
I think to me, can I say something about color? So any brand is fine. And then if you can, have a bigger budget, you can maybe buy professional grade rather than student grade. But I think most of us, when we use watercolor, most of us like this medium for the transparency, not the opacity. So knowing for every single color in your palette, knowing whether they're transparent or not, because some watercolor pigments are not transparent, they're opaque. Knowing that is important. So whatever you use, and please, do some research and to know which pigments are transparent, which are not.
Thank you so much for that. We had also a question about the palette, the specific palette that you were using. Do you know the brand of that one?
Yes, this is made by Holbein, and it's not very big. For small painting, this size is okay. But when I do a big painting, I don't really need more colors. I will still like a limited palette, but the mixing areas I need more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but yeah, for most smaller sizes, this is fine. It's a metal palette with a thumb hole, so I can hold it, especially when I paint outside or in the studio at the easel. I like to hold my palette.
Wonderful. And then we have already spent, in just a minute, we've spent 2 hours together, so we will probably not have time to answer all of those amazing questions that we have received, but at least a couple of them that are a bit outside of the box would be fun to answer. So we have one from Cheryl here. If a painting doesn't turn out the way you want it to, how do you handle that? Do you keep reworking it, or do you let it go and start over?
Well, it depends, right? So I have done both. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But it's worth a try. If you feel like you can salvage your painting, you should try. And but it may be already good. Maybe just your opinion. You feel that way. You might want to show it to other people. Maybe they see it differently, or maybe when we finish a painting, we had emotions so invested, right? So we are disappointed if we don't like even a tiny part of it. But if you take some time, just push it away, and then give yourself maybe a few days or even a few weeks if it's necessary, and then go back to a painting and take a look at, give it a fresh look. Maybe you see it differently.
I think that is so valuable, because oftentimes we only see the things that didn't end up as we thought they would. But sometimes
Mhm.
exactly those things ended up very beautifully, but we cannot see it when we're attached to our own
Right. It's
intention.
important to see the result, more objectively, right?
Yeah.
To decide whether more is needed or it's done.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. And then we have a question from Jada, which is also a bit more abstract. When the values in a painting feel that they are working, but the painting on the whole feel that it doesn't feel right, how do you decide where to push temperature contrast, for instance, instead of changing the values?
So if all the painting is already done, there's not much you can do. Although certain instances, I remember advising my students to glaze, because for example, if the painting felt a little too cold,
Yeah.
I probably advise use a warm color to glaze certain areas. So that type of thing you can do to change the color feel. Yeah. So, but the values, of course, you can make the light values darker. That's not a problem. But if it's already dark or if it's too dark, it's very difficult to change. And I don't like to make that change. So it's especially for values, it's so important to know the values before you begin a painting. And also to see the values is one thing. I go a step further. Do I want to work with these values that I see? Usually I want to change values here and there.
Yeah, I'm looking at these in the background, and it's like there's this atmosphere that you add to it. And for instance, we always, very many people talk about using the darkest dark and black, and some people say that you should use black and some people that you shouldn't use black, but ultimately it's the decision of the artist and the vision. And we see that you choose different colors in different paintings depending on what you want to, yeah, what you want to convey. And this is super light and this is much darker, and this is much more less contrast, which is part of the beauty in this piece. And there is no rule there, and I think that's something that we hear when you talk, is that you stay curious. You don't say, I've learned how to do things and then I do it every time. Yes, you have some things that you use to guide you, but you're also curious and alive and willing to see where the painting process leads you in every single different subject that you paint. Is there
Mhm.
any final words on the painting process and those decisions before we wrap up?
I always say that set a goal. Even the painting process, it's a journey, and then when you start, you're at the starting point, and then when the painting is finished, you should be at your destination of your journey, right? So I usually plan a few things in the beginning, and it's like a map. It guides me, right? But I also enjoy or try to enjoy getting lost. When I travel, I don't like to walk around with a map. I like to get lost. So I don't like to plan ahead of time for too many things, just the important things to guide me. So I try to enjoy the process, and I let the painting develop and evolve. And then so I think it's important to keep the conversation going, you know, between you and your painting. You have to listen to your painting. You have to feel the painting. So if the painting, if you feel like it's going away, moving away from you, that's when you have to, maybe reset. And I think just mechanically painting, maybe it's fun, but to me that's not enough. I don't get enough satisfaction. I like the interaction between me and the painting. I mean, it sounds strange, but I feel that way.
And Teresa has a question about the mentorship program. Do we need certain colors, and is there a materials list? And I would say that yes, there is a materials list, but can you also just use the colors that you already have?
Oh yeah, you can bring your own. I mean, your favorite palette. That's fine. I just want you to know what I use. That's
Yeah.
why I usually give a supply list, just so you know what I use.
Mm.
But of course, if you want to try, especially for colors, I think that everybody has a different set of colors that they're favorites. I do too. But when you look at the list, you understand my palette is pretty basic, and also I mix colors a lot. So that's one thing we all need to learn, right? Especially if you're a beginner, how to mix colors and to create cohesive look in the finished painting. So it might be good to work with the same palette. But you're welcome to bring your own favorites.
Thank you so much for that. And with that, even though we have lots of questions that we didn't get to answer, I think it's time to wrap up because we've spent more than 2 hours together now. And thank you so much, Keiko. We have lots of thank yous in the chat. So we have Claudia sharing her cheers, and Anastasia, and Jada, and and Hazel is joining, and Anna is joining. Beautiful Victoria is joining. Beautiful. Welcome to this mentorship program, everyone. Francesca says one more thank you. Wonderful paintings. Yeah, welcome everyone who has joined, and thank you so much to everyone who joined us live and created this beautiful space together with people from all around the world in such a beautiful way. And thank you, Keiko, for both sharing your philosophical aspects of painting and also more specific demonstrations and tips, lots of practical tips and lot of energetic state of mind inspiration that I feel that I just want for all of us, because it sounds like such a beautiful thing to embody your presence when you paint. And thank you so much for sharing that with all of us.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you to you, Hannah, and thank you to everybody.
I
have a lot more to share, so I hope
Yes,
you
I
join.
know. Do you have one final thing that you want to say to someone who feels inspired but still doesn't really know if this mentorship is for them? And what do you think? Who do you think that this is going to be a good fit for?
I think we said it all. So if any part of our conversation between me and Hannah resonated with you, yeah, I hope you'll give us a try.
Yeah.
And also, this is a holiday season, and you may be traveling. A lot of people usually do. Keep sketching. I just have a sketchbook right here. I like to show it to you. Yeah, just keep sketching. I think if we don't move our hand, even though we may have a skill, it gets rusty so fast. So that's what I want.
Thank you so much, and I hope everyone who is still here and or who watches the replay uses this inspiration and just absorbs this. And if you feel called to learn more from Keiko, don't hesitate, and always write us an email if you want more information, or just jump in. And those who will meet on the first of these live experiences, wow, what a journey you have ahead of you. I think it's going to be amazing for all of you. And thank you so much everyone who joins, and thank you so much, Keiko, and have a wonderful rest of your morning, noon, evening, or night. Till next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye, Hannah.